Just when we thought the Diddy drama couldn't get any crazier, the music mogul has dropped a bombshell. He's made a deal with the FBI. After weeks of rumors, scandals, and mounting legal troubles, no one saw this coming. But the real question is, what does Diddy know, and who's going to pay the price? Diddy's connections, a web of influence. Now here's the thing about Diddy. He didn't just make friends, he made powerful friends. We're talking politicians, celebrities, even people who worked in law enforcement. It was like Diddy had a network that stretched far beyond the music world, almost as if he had a safety net that most people could only dream of. I've always wondered how someone like him could sidestep so many controversies over the years without facing real consequences. It wasn't just luck. The man knew how to play the game. There have been more than a few eyebrows raised over the years about how Diddy managed to stay out of trouble despite all the scandals swirling around him. Some say he had cops in his pocket. Others claim he had politicians on speed dial. There was even talk about a New York City police station that had his picture hanging on the wall, like he was some sort of local hero. I mean, can you imagine? It's not like police stations are known for putting up pictures of music moguls. Usually, those walls are reserved for officers or maybe some historical figures. That's just a whole other level of influence. People started talking. Was this just a sign of his celebrity status, or did it mean something more? Was Diddy so powerful that even the law bent for him? Over the years, there have been whispers that Diddy didn't just avoid trouble. He had people on the inside helping him out, making sure things never got too messy for him. It's like he was always one step ahead, always in control. And that's when the rumors really started to heat up. They weren't just about his parties or his business deals anymore. People started to wonder if Diddy was pulling strings in places no one expected. The allegations that wouldn't go away. You know how in Hollywood sometimes a story comes up and everyone's like, oh, here we go again, but then it just fades away? That's kind of been Diddy's whole deal. Over the years, there have been so many allegations against him, some pretty serious ones too, but nothing ever seemed to stick. And every time you thought, okay, this time he's in real trouble, he just slipped right out of it. It's almost like he was untouchable, like there was some invisible shield around him, keeping him safe. Remember back in the day when there were all those stories about Diddy's connections to some not-so-savory characters? People talked, but nothing ever came of it. He was involved in a few high-profile incidents, like that nightclub shooting with Jennifer Lopez in 1999. You'd think that would have been enough to derail his career, but no, Diddy walked away unscathed. Jennifer Lopez was cleared, and Diddy was acquitted, despite all the chaos that surrounded the case. And that wasn't the only time he dodged a bullet, so to speak. Every time something came up, Diddy came out the other side clean, like he had some sort of magic touch. But behind the scenes, it was a different story. People who worked with him, or who were close to him, started to whisper about things they'd seen or heard. There was always something going on that didn't quite make it to the headlines, something darker lurking beneath the surface. And the more you heard, the more you wondered how Diddy kept dodging trouble. It wasn't just that he was lucky. He had help. He had connections that went deep, way deeper than most people could even imagine. The perfect image. A man of power and charity. Despite all the rumors and whispers, Diddy kept his image squeaky clean on the outside. He was the guy who threw the best parties, sure, but he was also the guy who gave back. You'd see him in the headlines for donating to charity, for helping out his community. He had that larger-than-life persona, the kind that made you think, this guy's on top of the world, and he's doing it all for a good cause. He rubbed shoulders with politicians, made grand appearances at fancy galas, and when the cameras were rolling, he knew exactly what to say. That's the thing about Diddy. He wasn't just some celebrity. He was smart. He knew how to manage his image, how to stay ahead of the curve. And for the longest time, it worked. People loved him. He had built an empire, and he wasn't about to let it crumble. His business ventures were thriving, from music to fashion to television. He was a symbol of success, a man who had started from nothing and built a kingdom. But the higher you climb, the harder you fall, right? And it seemed like Diddy's past was starting to catch up with him. The cracks began to show. For years, Diddy had everyone convinced that he was untouchable. He had the money, the fame, the connections. But the thing about power is that it always comes with a price. And in 2022, it seemed like Diddy's carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down. You've probably heard about it. The incident that was supposed to be just another headline, but ended up being so much more. At first, the story seemed simple enough. There was a drive-by shooting, something that happens in the world of hip-hop more often than it should. But this time, something didn't add up. Reports came out saying the shooting happened outside a studio and that Diddy's son was involved. It was supposed to be an open and shut case, but then, out of nowhere, a recording surfaced that blew the whole thing wide open. Someone had been filming, and what they caught on tape was not what the news had reported. The shooting didn't happen outside the studio, it happened inside. And it wasn't just some random drive-by, it was something much more sinister. Suddenly, the story everyone thought they knew turned into something darker, something that couldn't be ignored. Now you've got to imagine the kind of panic this must have caused. Diddy, the man who always seemed to stay one step ahead of the law, was suddenly at the center of a scandal that couldn't be covered up. The footage was out there, and there was no denying what had happened. It was a moment that should have brought everything crashing down for Diddy. But instead of running or trying to hide, he did something no one expected. He made an announcement. And that's when things got really interesting. The 2022 incident, a moment that couldn't be covered up. You know how some stories start off simple, but the more you dig, the crazier they get. That's exactly what happened in 2022 when a so-called drive-by shooting involving Diddy's son suddenly took a dark and unexpected turn. At first, the media spun it as just another tragic incident outside a recording studio. An unfortunate event, but not entirely unusual in the world of high-profile celebrities. The news came and went, and it seemed like this was going to be another story that disappeared quietly into the background. But then, out of nowhere, the real bombshell dropped. A video surfaced. And let me tell you, this video wasn't just a few seconds of grainy footage. This was clear, damning evidence that what had happened inside that building was not what Diddy's team had claimed. The whole drive-by narrative? Completely false. According to this video, the shooting hadn't happened outside at all. It had happened inside, and not just anywhere. It went down in one of the most private spaces imaginable. Suddenly, everyone was asking the same question. How on earth could this have been spun as a drive-by? I mean, no one's doing that in a bathroom, right? The details didn't add up, and the video made it crystal clear that something had been hidden from the public. And that's when things really started to spiral out of control for Diddy. What was supposed to be a manageable scandal was now an avalanche that couldn't be stopped. The footage was out there, and there was no denying what had really happened. It felt like a scene straight out of a movie, the kind where everything unravels in slow motion. 1 minute, Diddy and his team were sitting pretty, thinking they had dodged yet another bullet, and the next, they were facing questions they couldn't answer. The public was in shock. Fans who had admired Diddy for years suddenly didn't know what to believe anymore. The man who had always seemed untouchable was now caught in a web of his own making. And for the first time, it looked like there was no way out. The secret footage, a game changer. Let's talk about that video for a second, because this wasn't just some random piece of evidence. This was the smoking gun, the kind of thing that changes everything. It showed exactly what had gone down that night. There was no mistaking it. And the worst part? Diddy had no idea it even existed until it was too late. You can imagine the panic when his team realized the footage was out there, and there was no way to control the narrative anymore. The person who captured the footage wasn't part of the plan, obviously. They were just in the right or wrong, depending on how you look at it, place at the right time. And when that video hit the internet, it spread like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone who had been buying into the official story started to question everything. The media went into overdrive, dissecting every frame of the footage, and it didn't take long for the public to realize they had been misled. The truth? It was ugly. There was no more pretending this was some random act of violence outside the studio. What the video showed was far more shocking, and the fact that it had all gone down inside the building only made things worse. People started asking, if they lied about this, what else are they hiding? The credibility of Diddy and his team was in tatters, and the damage control machine kicked into high gear. But it wasn't enough. The footage was out there, and the story had taken on a life of its own. This wasn't just a PR disaster. It was a full-blown scandal. Diddy's carefully crafted image, the one he had spent decades building, was suddenly crumbling in front of his eyes. And no matter what his team said or did, there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. Public outcry. The world reacts. Once the footage hit the public, there was no going back. Fans were furious, the media smelled blood in the water, and social media exploded with commentary. People who had idolized Diddy for years suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about him. And let me tell you, the reaction wasn't just disappointment. It was outrage. This wasn't the first time Diddy had found himself at the center of controversy, but it was definitely the first time it felt like things might actually stick. The video was too clear, the evidence too damning. And the fact that Diddy's team had tried to cover it up only made matters worse. For years, Diddy had seemed to glide through life, dodging every scandal that came his way. But now it looked like his luck had run out. People started digging into his past, pulling up old stories that had been brushed under the rug. Suddenly, every shady rumor, every suspicious incident was being re-examined. The media couldn't get enough, and the public was eating it up. This wasn't just a story about a celebrity in trouble. This was a full-blown takedown, and everyone wanted a piece of it. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You knew it was going to end badly, but you couldn't look away. And for Diddy, it must have felt like the world was closing in. His reputation, his empire, everything he had built was at risk. And for the first time in his career, it seemed like there was no easy way out. Diddy's response: a bold, unexpected move. But here's the thing about Diddy. He's always been a master of the unexpected. Just when you thought he was backed into a corner, he made a move no one saw coming. Instead of hiding, instead of issuing a carefully crafted apology or staying quiet like most people would in his position, Diddy went on the offensive. He made an announcement that left everyone stunned. In a press conference that felt more like a performance than a public statement, Diddy stood in front of the cameras and made it clear that he wasn't backing down. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He doubled down. It was like he was saying, "Yeah, this happened, but guess what? I'm still standing." It was bold, it was brazen, and it shocked everyone watching. The announcement wasn't just about clearing his name, it was a power move. Diddy wanted the world to know that despite everything, he was still in control. And while the details of what he said were carefully crafted, the message was clear. Diddy wasn't going anywhere. In fact, he was ready to fight. But the question on everyone's mind was simple. Would it be enough? Could Diddy really talk his way out of this one? Or was this just the beginning of the end for the man who had always seemed untouchable? The public was divided. Some people were ready to forgive, eager to believe that Diddy was still the larger-than-life figure they had always admired. But others weren't so sure. For them, the video had changed everything, and no amount of smooth talking was going to fix that. The beginning of the end? As the days went on, the story didn't fade away like so many others. Instead, it kept growing, and Diddy found himself in the middle of a media storm that wasn't letting up. The video continued to circulate, and more details about the night of the incident started to surface. Each new revelation added fuel to the fire, and it became clear that Diddy's announcement wasn't going to make this problem go away. But here's where things took a turn. Just when it seemed like Diddy was about to face the full force of the law, something strange happened. Rumors started swirling that Diddy had made a deal with the FBI. Now, no one knew exactly what that deal involved, but the fact that it was even being talked about was enough to raise eyebrows. Could Diddy really be working with the FBI? And if so, what did that mean for the future? It was a twist no one had seen coming. After all, Diddy had always been the man in charge, the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. But now it looked like he might have been playing a different game all along. Was this how he had managed to stay ahead of the law for so long? And if so, what did it say about the man who had built an empire on the back of his charm and connections? The public didn't know what to think. Some people saw the FBI rumors as proof that Diddy was even more powerful than they had realized. Others saw it as a sign of desperation, a man grasping at straws to save himself from the inevitable. Either way, the announcement had everyone talking, and the speculation only grew louder. The FBI involvement, a twist no one saw coming. By now, you're probably wondering how Diddy, after everything that had happened, could still be standing. I mean, the video evidence, the public outrage, it seemed like there was no way out for him. But just when everyone thought the game was over, Diddy pulled off the ultimate move. He made a deal with the FBI, and trust me, no one saw this coming. It was like something out of a crime drama, where the main character is backed into a corner, and then boom, they cut a deal with the feds. Except this wasn't a movie, this was real life, and Diddy was the one making headlines. So what exactly was this deal? That's where things get interesting because, of course, the details are hush-hush. All we know is that Diddy somehow managed to turn the tables, shifting the narrative in his favor. Again, and the craziest part? This wasn't just some behind-closed-doors kind of deal. Diddy announced it, like he wanted the world to know he wasn't going down without a fight. The move was bold, brazen even, and it sent shockwaves through the media and the public. It was like Diddy was telling everyone, yeah, I made a deal, and guess what? I'm still here. But why would the FBI even be interested in making a deal with Diddy? That's the big question. Some people started speculating right away. Was he working with them? Had he been helping out behind the scenes this whole time? The theories started flying, and suddenly the man who was supposed to be on the ropes seemed to have the upper hand once again. It was classic Diddy, turning the tables when everyone thought he was done for. But this time, the stakes were higher than ever. Friends in high places. Is Diddy untouchable after all? If there's one thing that stands out about Diddy over the years, it's that his network of connections runs deeper than anyone could have imagined. And we're not just talking about his influence in the music industry, where he's been a dominant force for decades. No, this guy's reach goes way beyond entertainment. He's got friends in high places, and I mean powerful places, people who hold real authority, from the corporate boardrooms to political offices, even within the justice system. It's starting to seem like those relationships might have been Diddy's secret weapon all along. Think about it. How many people do you know who could get wrapped up in a scandal this huge, where serious accusations are flying, and the public's watching your every move, and still manage to come out the other side with a deal from the FBI? That's not something you just pull off by accident. But then again, Diddy isn't just anyone. He spent years, decades really, building relationships with the most influential people in the world. And now, as everything starts to fall apart around him, it looks like those connections are finally paying off in a very big way. For years, there have been these quiet rumors floating around about Diddy's influence in places most people couldn't even dream of reaching. People whispered about how he had law enforcement on his side, that he had a way of making things disappear with just a few well-placed phone calls. Sure, none of this was ever proven. These things usually aren't. But they were the kinds of rumors that never completely went away. It's like there was always this sense that Diddy wasn't just skating by on luck. No, he was pulling strings in the background, making sure that no matter what kind of trouble he got into, he always came out clean on the other side. And now, with this bombshell deal with the FBI, those old rumors are starting to look a lot more believable. The fact that Diddy has managed to strike a deal with federal agents in the middle of a situation like this only adds more fuel to the fire. Could it be that Diddy's been playing a much bigger game all this time? Maybe we've all been looking at him as just a music mogul, but the truth could be that he's had serious pull in the political and legal worlds for years, maybe even decades. It's one of those things that's hard to wrap your head around, but the more you look at the situation, the more it starts to make sense. Diddy has always been a man of power, but this takes his influence to a whole new level. The idea that Diddy could be working with the FBI opens up a whole new set of questions. First off, what kind of information does he have that would make the feds want to cut him a deal in the first place? I mean, the FBI doesn't just hand out deals like candy. There has to be something huge that Diddy's offering in return, and that leads to even more speculation. What does this deal mean for the other people in Diddy's circle? Because let's be real, deals like this don't come without a price. And if Diddy is talking to the FBI, you've got to wonder who he's throwing under the bus. Think about it. Who could be on the chopping block if Diddy's cutting deals to save himself? It's not just about him anymore. There are probably a lot of nervous people out there wondering if their names are going to come up in whatever information Diddy's handing over to the feds. The entertainment industry, politics, law enforcement, who knows how far this could reach? One thing's for sure. Someone's going to pay the price for this deal, and the real question is, who's it going to be? Diddy might be trying to save himself, but deals like this don't come without consequences, and those consequences can spread far and wide. It makes you wonder just how many people are involved in this web, and how deep this thing really goes. If Diddy's making moves like this, it's not just about survival anymore. It's about securing his place in a much bigger game, one that most people don't even realize is being played. The fallout? What happens next? So, where does this leave Diddy now? Well, if you thought the media storm was wild before, it's about to get even crazier. The public is still reeling from the news that Diddy managed to slip out of yet another scandal, but this time, things feel different. There's a shift in the air, and you can tell that the stakes have been raised to a level we haven't seen before. It's no longer just about Diddy's reputation or the brand he's built over the years. It's about what happens next. And let's be honest, making a deal with the FBI isn't some minor behind-the-scenes maneuver. This is a serious game-changer, the kind of move that sends shockwaves through not just the entertainment industry, but beyond, into places no one expected. And the ripple effects of something like this? They're going to be felt for a long time. One of the biggest questions everyone's asking right now is whether Diddy's career can even survive this. Sure, he's proven time and again that he can weather a storm, pulling off some impressive comebacks when people thought he was done for. But this? This feels like a real turning point. It's not just the public he's dealing with anymore, he's now caught in a web with the federal government. And while his most loyal fans might be ready to give him the benefit of the doubt, there's no escaping the fact that the rest of the world is watching very closely, waiting to see how this unfolds. There's something about this particular situation that feels different from the usual celebrity scandal. This isn't just about bad press or a hit to his image. This is about whether Diddy can navigate a legal and public relations minefield that most people wouldn't stand a chance in. Because let's be real, the legal ramifications of making a deal with the FBI, those are enough to make anyone's head spin. It's not like Diddy's problems magically disappear just because he's cut a deal. Far from it. The lawsuits are still piling up, and with every new revelation, the court of public opinion grows harsher. People are quick to forget your success when the weight of your actions starts to overshadow it. And the media? Oh, they're going to have a field day with this. From now on, every move Diddy makes is going to be under the microscope. The media is going to dissect every statement, every appearance, every decision, and if there's even the slightest misstep, it could be game over. One wrong move could be the final nail in the coffin of his career. But here's the thing. If anyone knows how to survive a crisis like this, it's Diddy. He's always been a master at controlling the narrative, turning situations around when most people would be scrambling. He's got an uncanny ability to shift the conversation, and if there's a way to steer this ship away from the rocks, you can bet he's going to find it. Still, no matter how skilled Diddy is at handling the pressure, this situation feels different. The weight of the legal challenges, the FBI deal, the mounting public scrutiny, it's all adding up in a way that could be too much for even him to manage. For years, Diddy has walked the fine line between controversy and success, always finding a way to come out on top. But now it feels like the walls are closing in, and there's only so much room left to maneuver. There's a sense that we're watching something bigger than just a celebrity in crisis. This is about power, influence, and how far someone can stretch their connections before they snap. Diddy has built an empire on being untouchable, but even empires fall. Whether or not this is the end of the line for him remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the world will be watching every step of the way. The bigger picture. What does this mean for the industry? While Diddy's personal drama is playing out in front of the whole world, it's hard not to zoom out and think about the bigger picture. I mean, what does all of this mean for the entertainment industry as a whole? Diddy's scandal, as explosive as it is, isn't happening in a vacuum. Let's be honest, he's not the only one in the industry with skeletons in his closet. The music business has always had a shadowy side, filled with rumors and stories that never fully saw the light of day. For years, people have whispered about what goes on behind the scenes, but now, with the FBI involved, it feels like there's a real shift happening. The old way of doing things, of getting away with everything behind closed doors, might finally be coming to an end. And it's not just Diddy who's feeling the pressure. The walls are closing in on everyone who's been playing fast and loose with the law for years, and this could be the start of something big. This situation with Diddy feels like it could be a turning point for the entire industry, a moment where people start demanding real accountability from the stars they once worshipped. Let's face it, the days of sweeping scandals under the rug might finally be over, and that's going to have some serious consequences, not just for Diddy, but for a whole lot of people who have benefited from the same kind of protection and silence. We've already seen other big names get caught up in their own controversies in recent years, but Diddy's situation is different because of its scale, and because now the FBI is in the mix. His downfall, or potential downfall, is going to add fuel to a fire that's been smoldering for a long time. Fans today are more aware than ever. They're no longer content to just watch from the sidelines while their favorite celebrities get away with bad behavior. Social media has changed everything, making it easier than ever for people to voice their opinions and call out the stars who disappoint them. And trust me, fans are quick to pounce when they feel like someone has crossed the line. The public is watching more closely, and they're less forgiving than they used to be. It's not just about liking someone's music or following their career anymore. People want to know that the stars they look up to are decent human beings. And if Diddy, one of the biggest names in the industry, can fall from grace, you've got to wonder who's next. Of course, there's always the possibility that Diddy will find a way to bounce back, like he's done so many times before. He's no stranger to controversy, and he's always managed to reinvent himself after each scandal, whether it was in his personal life or business. Maybe this deal with the FBI will eventually blow over. Maybe in time the public will forget, and Diddy will manage to turn this around like he always does. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility. After all, he's built his career on resilience and his ability to weather storms that would sink most people. If anyone can survive a crisis, it's him. But still, something feels different this time. The stakes are higher, and the public isn't as quick to forgive as they used to be. People are starting to demand more from the celebrities they follow, and the music industry is slowly but surely turning its back on the old ways of doing things. Diddy might have his network of powerful connections, and he might have pulled off some impressive moves to get this far, but you've got to wonder, can he survive in this new world where people are less willing to let things slide? It's not just about Diddy's reputation anymore. It's about whether or not he can continue to thrive in an industry that's evolving in real time. The days of turning a blind eye to scandal are coming to an end, and if Diddy doesn't adapt, he might find himself on the outside looking in. The entertainment industry has always been cutthroat, but now the rules of the game are changing. It's not just about making good music or throwing the biggest parties anymore. It's about how you conduct yourself when the cameras aren't rolling. So where does that leave Diddy? He's at a crossroads, no doubt about it. The deal with the FBI has thrown him a lifeline, but how long that will last is anyone's guess. He might be able to hold on to his empire for a while longer, but the public's patience is wearing thin, and the industry itself is shifting beneath his feet. If Diddy wants to stay on top, he's going to have to do more than just navigate this current scandal. He's going to have to completely reinvent himself in a way we haven't seen before. And even then, there's no guarantee that the world will be as forgiving as it once was. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.